Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kenza James. My new and old subscribers, you're all welcome to today's tutorial where I'm going to be showing you how to draft a cowl neck slip dress using this really beautiful silk fabric. So it frays, right? So I'm going to be overlocking that for my slip dress, and I'm going to be using my basic bodice pattern. If you don't know how to draft this, I'm going to be linking it in the description box where you can learn how to do this. Then I'm using my pattern master, a pair of scissors. I'm going to be using it to cut my fabric and my paper. I'm using my marking pen, my sellotape. You can use any sellotape of your choice. This is the only one I have handy. That's why this would not have been my first choice at all, guys. Then I have extra pattern paper because I'm going to be working on the neck region of the front bodice, right? So on our pattern here, you can see it's a dress. Now I want the length of my dress to be 42, but my pattern paper is not that long, so I drafted to this part of my pattern paper, right? So by the time I'm cutting it, you're going to be seeing me making additions on the pattern paper. So that's on the material. So that's what that addition is going to be for. Now the first thing I'm going to do is determine my back neckline. So what I'm going to be doing now is to draft the neckline for my back bodies, right? So I'm not going to be cutting that point yet, but I'm going to just be drafting it. So let me just run you quickly into what I have here. So this is my shoulder line. What I did is to mark my shoulder line here, and then this measurement I have here, I'm not really using it. It's just the starting point line. So that's why I marked this line for my shoulder. Then from this my shoulder to this point is to my under bust measurement. Then from my shoulder I marked my bust point, and from my shoulder I marked my affluence or my waist measurement. Then from my shoulder I marked my hip line. So that's why I'm drawing those lines, right? And then I have the hem of my garment, which I said initially this is not the complete length. I'm going to be adding it when I come to cutting out my fabric, right? Then on this side I marked half of my shoulder measurements. That's what I have here. And then on this side I marked my bust point plus half an inch sewing allowance, but this is my bust point. Then on my affluence line or my waistline I marked on my bust point I marked a quarter of my bust point. It's just half of my shoulder, quarter of my bust point, quarter of my affluence or waist measurement, quarter of my hip line. And then I went ahead to add half an inch sewing allowance. Then I made my armhole curve and I marked my neckline, which I'm not even going to be using, right? So for the back side, I want the neck to be sort of deep a little bit and curved like so. So what I'm going to be marking is I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches away from this armhole line here. I'm marking 1.5 inches from that point like so, right? Then I'm going to be using my pattern master to just give a nice curve from that 1.5 inches up to my side seam line, right? Like so. So this is going to be my back neckline, but I'm going to keep that aside for now. And first off, so from these my bodies now, right, I'm going to go ahead and cut out where I'm going to be needing. So for the front, I'm just going to mark from my armhole line. I'm going to mark 5 inches upwards. I'm just marking that to determine where I need to cut, right? I'm marking 5 inches upwards, then 5 inches on this side, and I'm going to be connecting it in a straight line like so. So this is going to be the neckline that I want to work with, right? So I'm going to be cutting out my front bodies now, right? So I do not need this side, so I'm cutting out this side that I need. So this is our front bodice. So now I'm going to go ahead and fold my back side so that I can cut. I'm going to be cutting out my back side first, right? So I'm folding away that my back neckline like so, so I can cut my fabric for my back first, right? So I went ahead to pin down my fabric, right? And I added that allowance that I said on the length, so you can see it here. So I'm going ahead to cut. Now I'm going to be adding half of an inch sewing allowance here, which I'm going to be using to turn the I'm going to be using that point to turn over my facing, right? So guys, we are back again now. So I just went ahead and opened back the neckline, right, for the front side. So now what I'm going to be doing, I have extra pattern paper here which I'm going to be taping, because we are going to be slashing and spreading, guys. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be marking this point, right? You see this point here. I want a drape there. I want another drape here. I want like 3 areas of draping. So I have this line. I'm going to mark 1.5 inches upwards from this line. That's the chest line, which is also my armhole line. Then another 1.5 inches upwards, right? So I'm going to be connecting those lines to somewhere around the armhole here. Now the way you connect these points determines how your cowl neck drops, right? So I'm going to be cutting and spreading. So I'm starting from here. I'm cutting almost to the extreme of the fabric, but I'm not cutting it out, guys. I'm just cutting up to this point here. Then I'm cutting this side as well to this point here, right? Then I'm cutting the last point here like so to this point here. You can see that I almost cut it through, but I did not. So I'm just going to bring my pattern paper, the extra one, and I'll be so guys, the wider you spread, right, the flowier, or how will I say it drapes longer, right, or it drapes more. But I don't want too much of drape, guys. So I'm just going to be spreading like so. So I want a total of, let's say, around 5 inches of drape, right? So I'll be spreading that 5 inches. So on this side, or let's do 6 inches, I'll do 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here, right? So I'm just going to take my tape, my glue tape, and I'm just going to be cutting it. Then I'll measure out that 2 inches here, right? Then I'll tape. Just go ahead and tape like so, and tape here. Then I'll cut more. Then I'm going to spread by 2 inches as well. And I'm going to do the last one. Another 2 inches. Then I'm going to be taping as well, right? So here we go. Now instead of cutting it in a curve to follow this curve like this, I'm just going to come over with my pattern paper, with my pattern master, guys. Then going to be drawing a straight line, right? Like so, right? Then the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding allowance, but because I do not have as much paper here, so I'm just going to be cutting that. But when I'm cutting, I'm going to be folding, like I'm cutting with extra on this side, which will eventually become the facing of the front. Just follow, guys, you would understand what I'm trying to do, right? So on this point, so guys, looking at this pattern, right, I discovered that if I extend this line up to here, it might be much. I do not want as much drape, so I'm going to just go ahead and reduce that till around here. But if you don't mind it, if you don't mind the folds to be that much, then you can just go ahead and use the pattern like that, right? So I'm just going ahead to, so I'm cutting from here instead of here, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. But before then, since I now have enough space to work with, right, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to fold this side like so that I can use that point for my facing, because you're not cutting the front facing separate from the bodies, right? So I'm just going to cut following my lines that I made. Cutting like so. Sorry guys, I'm finding a position that works for me. Then I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to do this over so that I can measure the length of my facing. So I want my facing to be like 3 inches wide. So I'm going to mark 3 inches like so, and then 3 inches like this. Then I'll go ahead and draw a line like so. Then I'll be cutting out this excess of the fabric here. So by the time I'm cutting out my fabric, I'm just going to cut it out like so, because when I fold it in, this is what I'm going to have. Don't worry about this curve here, I'm not going to follow that, but because if it goes in, it's still not going to make a difference, right? So let's go ahead and lay our fabric and cut. The way to turn the loop is with a needle and a thread like this, right? So you want to just grab one edge of the thread and sew it like twice with the needle, just one side of it like so, right? Then you pass the bottom side of the needle inside the loop, right? I discovered this is the easiest way to do it actually. So you just go ahead and bring it out. So guys, this is the point where our facing starts from, right? Just at this point and this point. So I'm going to fold it over like so. Then I'm going to stitch that point to hold my facing down, so just so I know where my facing is. Now I'm going to do the back facing, right? So for the back, this is it. I'll find the midpoint of the back, guys. I want to find where to, so you can see this is the midpoint of the back where I have a notch here already. So from that point, I'm going to measure, from that midpoint, I'm going to measure 4 inches going outwards, Then I'm going to sew my strap on that point, right? So you can see the point here. So I'm just going to sew my strap there. I've gone ahead to iron my strap, so you press yours too. So I'm matching right side of my strap to the right side of my dress. So I'm going to measure another 4 inches from here to the other side. Then I'm sewing my strap again on that side. Now the wrong side of the strap is the side that this stitching line appears, right? So that's the side that is going to be facing up. Just in case you don't know which side is the wrong side, that's the side that is facing up. So I'm just going to attach that like so. Make sure you do this before you fix your facing, right? So I'm going to match my facing now, and I'll go ahead and sew. So now I'm going to top stitch. So I'm going to open like so, then I'm going to top stitch on, I'm top stitching on the facing, guys. So very close to the seam line, but on the facing side is where I'm top stitching. All my seam allowances are pushed towards the facing as well. You can see I've top stitched that nicely. So I'm going to turn that over like so, then I'll stitch this side. So this is it. We are going to join the front now. So I'm just grabbing my front piece, and then I will be joining this side, my side piece here. We'll be joining it to the side of the back. And you remember that 1 inch sewing allowance that we left, and sorry, half of an inch sewing allowance. I'm going to use that half of an inch sewing allowance to finish off the dress, the side seam. So I'm doing the same thing to this side and to the other side, guys. Right, this facing side, I'm going to make a hole there where my strap will pass. So I'm using my seam ripper. You can use razor or scissors, any blade, right? So I'm just going ahead to make a small hole there. You can see. Now I left this side because I'm going to be using it to hem the armhole, right? So you can see I did not cut through to that side. Likewise, this side here, I'm doing the same thing, right? So you can see. So now I'm going to arrange this. Now this, I want a cross back, right? So this side of my, the one on the left, I'll bring it to the right side. The one on the right, I'll bring it to the left side, because I want a cross back, right? So I'm going to do it like so. So this one is going over to this side. I'll just tuck it in like this, right? Then I'll bring it out towards this side, turn it over like so. Then I'm going to sew just that side, just a little on that side. I'm going to be sewing it, the place that I cut open, right, is where I'm going to be sewing back. I'm sewing it closed. So I'll back stitch a few times. Then I'm going to be doing the same thing on this side as well. then I'm going to bring it out, right? So you can see this is what our dress looks like now. So I'm going to hem this side, and then I will hem the armhole and also hem the hem. I left a slit, guys, so if you do not want a slit, you can just omit that. So I'll hem the slit as well. I'll hem everything, and I'll come back to show you the finished look of the dress. So guys, this is the finished look of the dress. This is what you can see. I don't have too much effect around here. I don't have too much cowl, that flowy effect around here, guys. That's because I said I don't want too much of it. So this is it. You can see, guys, this fabric is so nice. I'm not wearing any bra, but it's giving me a nice feel, right? Sorry about my hand. I'm just looking for how to hold this for you to see. You can see this is what the dress looks like. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you in my next video, guys. Bye.